Hey guys, welcome to the DNG podcast, the Driven Not Given podcast. And I actually have a very, very interesting gentleman here that I met. Actually, he's a customer of mine, right? With solar. I'm helping him go solar on his home. And as I met with him in his house, I started learning about him and I started realizing that he's not only a successful entrepreneur, but he's also an inventor and a very interesting person. We're also both big fans of Corvettes. As you can see, we've got his beautiful car back here. And so he's got a very interesting story, a lot of valuable things that are going to come out of this conversation, I'm sure of it. So with that being said, my friend, Mr. Harry Snegg, how are you, my friend?
I'm fabulous.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. I'm glad you came out.
Yeah. It was a nice quick ride.
Yeah, it was. I know, exactly. Especially in this thing, man. Before we get into the interview, you know that I'm a fan of Corvettes, right? I wanted to buy this car, but they're going $20,000, $30,000 over MSRP. I'm just not willing to pay it. So what did you pay?
I have the receipt if you want to see. It's $50,000 over. You can look at it in black and white.
Well, did you pay $50,000 over MSRP?
No.
Good.
But I ordered the car 2 years ago, 2 years before I got it. Mm-hmm. And I never even got the one I ordered. And they assured me that I was going to pay the MSRP, which was $86,000. They said, well, because I'm impatient after 2 years, they do have one that's very similar to what I ordered, but it's $50,000 over MSRP.
Wow.
But you won't have to worry about that. The car, they jammed the car with a few $1,000s worth of extras that I would have never ordered.
Sure.
After going around and around and negotiating with them, I did pay them $20,000 over MSRP.
Oh, you got off good, man, if you only paid $20,000 over MSRP.
And ironically, the average used Corvettes now, there's over 2,000 Corvettes on the market today used. The average is $103,000.
Wow.
So I paid, I think, 110.
Got it.
And so I'm in good shape.
You got a good deal, man. It's a crazy market that we're in right now, right? There's a shortage of all kinds of things, including the chips for the cars. So right now, the car business is, the prices are.
I thought about not getting it. All my training, all my life, all my teaching was, business, negotiating, and never settled for a deal like that. Mm-hmm. But the question was, am I going to enjoy my money now? I'm going to give it to my family and let them buy a Corvette.
Listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly because you've made a lot of money. You deserve it, bro. You bought it now.
I kept telling myself, I deserve this.
Yeah, exactly. And you do, man. If not somebody else is going to enjoy it, you might as well enjoy it, man. Well, again, Harry, thank you very much for coming on, man. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the car later. But you're a very interesting man. And I love your attitude, right? It's contagious. And you're just a good dude, man. And you got a great story. So I want to get into that. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about how you grew up. I'm curious to see what is it that shaped that mindset of yours. And you sold, we're going to get into how many sales of these and how many units you've sold. But that's not a regular person that does the things that you've done. So tell me a little bit about you growing up.
It has a lot to do with my family growing up. My dad was a businessman, and I grew up in a very middle-class neighborhood. My dad would always talk about his business, and growing up in his business and with business generally, I used to listen very carefully to some of the things that he would tell me about jobs and business and how much satisfaction he had even when his business was just getting along.
Just getting by.
Just getting by. And still every day he enjoyed his business. And something that I learned from him that's in my mind today, I tell everyone else, is you have to enjoy your work. If you're stuck in a position like 95% of most people out there, you go to work every day and you hate it. Well, that's the path to a short life. Mm. If you want to have a successful, fulfilling life, you go to a job every day that you love. If it even remotely feels like a job, you're in the wrong job. It should feel like enjoyment and fulfillment. That doesn't mean everybody has to have their own business. Just that when I grew up, that was the way to have that kind of fulfillment with a modest education. my education was not much to speak of. So I was always consumed with business. Even in the 4th grade, I had a little business selling bicycle decals with devils and skeletons. For my friends, we all had bicycles, to stick to their bicycle. And I would take the bus, took me hours living in Pasadena, going to downtown Pasadena, and buying these decals at a bicycle shop, full retail. Like $1.25.
Mm-hmm.
And came back to school, and if I had 20 or 30 decals, for double that money, they were never lasted more than one day.
Really?
Because you just couldn't get them where I lived. And I did that for the whole 4th grade. And
so you've been an entrepreneur since the 4th grade?
4th grade is when I realized that if you have something that people want, you can get it.
They'll pay for it.
That's right. They'll pay for it. And another thing on that same note, that just buying and selling a product nowadays is not enough. You have to be able to acquire a product and be able to sell it for much more than you would think is obvious. In other words, I see people at flea markets who buy a product for $10 and they're happy to sell it for $11 or $12.
Mm.
But you cannot be successful on a larger scale or on television or radio at all unless you have a product that you can A, control, and B, be able to have a 5 times markup. That sounds like a lot, but you got to remember, you're not getting the 5 times.
Right.
That's all divided up amongst all the people that you're doing business with. You'll be happy to get 1.5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doubling your money, you're way ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else along the way has to be paid. So if you want to be on television selling a product, it doesn't even matter what the product is. You have to have a 5 times markup.
Wow. I didn't know that. That seems, sounds great, right? But I've never been in that retail business. But MaxiView is the product. Would you say, because you've invented a few, so you are an entrepreneur and an inventor, right?
I have a number of inventions, but none of them, the only one that's been successful is MaxiView Mirror.
Well, that's the nature of business, right? That's the nature of entrepreneurship, right? You're going to fail your way to the top. You're going to fail until you hit something. And that is the nature, the DNA of an entrepreneur. They understand, hey, man, I only got to get it right once. Right?
Pretty much.
Yep. So MaxiView is, tell us about the story of how you came up with this, because that's when I was in your home and you were sharing with me about this here. Tell me the story of how you came up with this.
When I was in my 20s, I was a Corvette enthusiast. This is my 4th one. And I had a number of Corvettes, and I wrecked them all. Luckily, I never got hurt. All because of blind spots. Because if you've ever driven a Corvette or a lot of other sports cars, blind spots are horrible.
Yep.
And this new C8 model, you cannot drive this car without cameras. There are 6 cameras in this car. And without the cameras, you really can't drive this car.
Yeah.
So
Too many blind spots.
Too many blind spots.
Got it.
And still to this day, they have not mastered the main blind spot, which is when you want to change lanes, you can't see what's next to you unless you go way out here. It's just too hard to do. So if you want to see what's next to you in a glance, you have to have a blind spot mirror.
Mm.
So driving down the street one day in my Corvette, don't even remember the year, it was a black one. And I go to change lanes, and I look to my right, I look to my left, I look all around, I'm pulling into the right, and I see nothing. So I start to change lanes, and all of a sudden I hear a big, oh! Jump back in, practically peed my pants. Scared me. So we come up to a stop sign, and he pulls up alongside of me. This was a big 18-wheeler.
Mm.
And on his truck, he had a blind spot mirror that was about an average, it's very large, 8 inches. That's a very big blind spot mirror. So I thought, well, I've got to have that on my Corvette.
Now, did you mention that he kind of gestured at you or
Oh,
something?
yes. He shook his finger at me. And he was very nice about it, but he knew I didn't see him at all.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought an 8-inch blind spot mirror for a truck. And I taped it to my Corvette. Well, it looked like hell.
But did you bought an 8-inch blind spot, but did you cut it? Did you shape
Well,
it?
that was after.
Oh.
First, I taped it to my car.
Oh, wow.
And drove around with it that way and went, wow, there's no more blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing.
Mm.
And it looked so bad. And I drove with it for many months like that.
Wow.
It felt so good not to have a blind spot.
Yeah.
Didn't care how it looked. I realized that it had nothing to do with the size of the mirror.
Yeah.
It had to do with the curvature.
Of the mirror.
Yeah. I'll give you a trade secret. It's a 9-inch curvature.
Interesting. Got it.
So that particular curvature gives you a very accurate picture of what you're looking at. And the reason most people hate blind spot mirrors is because they make everything so tiny and so distorted.
Right.
But this curvature does not. It makes it very realistic and 3 times bigger than the natural or the standard mirror.
Oh.
So car manufacturers knew about that early, and they attempted to make the right-hand side mirror, the one that says items are, what does it say? Smaller than they appear.
Closer than they appear. Yeah.
So they did a halfway measure, and they attempted to eliminate the blind spot by making it halfway you could see it and halfway you couldn't see it. It was a slight curvature.
Right.
So at just a certain angle, you could see you had something in your blind spot, but most of the time you still were unable to see what's in your blind spot.
Right.
So you really could never change lanes safely. So when I discovered that, where my family worked, the business I mentioned to you, we had a lot of grinders. And I took this mirror and ground it down very slowly, very fine grinder, down to this. So this looked good on my car.
Right.
Then I made a piece of wood for the backing and glued it all on there, and it looked good. And then I had a number of friends who had Corvettes, sports cars. I said, hey, I want one of those. Can you make me one of those? So I realized that
There's a market for
there's a
it.
market for this thing. Well, it took me 10 years
Wow.
to get all the patents ready and to get it to market.
See, and that's one of the things that will stop a lot of people, right?
Oh.
The process, the price that has to be paid, right? But I'm sorry, proceed.
So I knew there was a market, so I've contracted a company that could make it by hand out of aluminum. And it looked good. But to sell them, and this wasn't at a 5-time markup, just to sell them to get rid of them, I had to get $250 a pair made out of aluminum. As fast as I could make them, people were buying them. And I'm going, oh. Well, that hit a wall. After a while, I ran out of friends with Corvettes.
Yeah.
So I realized if I really want to sell this, I got to sell it for $29.95. To do that, you've got to make it in a mold. You can't make it by hand. So a lot went on before that, but at one point I ended up investing the money, $55,000, to make a mold so that I could sell them and make them out of plastic.
Wow.
And then I found that plastic was really not working. It was way too rigid. And I found the correct material, which is nylon. So what you're looking at is a nylon product, which is a form of soft plastic.
That's interesting. So I thought this was plastic.
It is a type of plastic, but it's actually nylon.
Interesting. So $55,000 is what you invested to get the
That
mold.
was just the mold.
Just the mold.
So that was a big gamble.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to make my money back. And I then proceeded to sell my mirrors in a booth. I went on the road doing car shows and county fairs with a vehicle in my booth, not a new Corvette.
Yeah.
And I would invite people to sit in my car and listen to a 1-minute demonstration of me talking on a recording, because after 2 or 3 times, I couldn't do it again.
Yeah.
I could do it 200 times in an event. And people would listen to the recording, look to your left, look to your right. Now you see the blind spot. And 1/3 of them religiously would hop out of the car and say, I've got to have that.
Huh.
Religiously. Every event, no matter how good or how bad, it was always 1/3 of the people who saw the demonstration bought the mirrors.
Right.
And at the time, the people who didn't buy it, or everybody actually, we handed them a postcard, which was a verbal description of the mirrors with the prices and so forth. And that was the beginning of my mail order business. And that's how I ended up selling over 2 million mirrors. Well, that was part of it.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
Along the way, I was doing an invention convention in Las Vegas. And a group of ladies came to my booth from QVC. That's the home shopping network.
Yeah.
And they said, we just love this. And we would like to, it's not just a model, it's not just an idea, it's not just a prototype, you're actually in production with this. And I said, yes, we're in production. So, well, we want to have this on QVC. And I knew at the time that can't be right, because I'd send them samples, wrote them letters.
Huh. Oh, so you had already tried to get on QVC?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Got it.
And the one lady said to me, yeah, we've seen these floating around the office, but nobody knew what they were.
Wow.
So what is the point of that story? This is a word I'm looking for, but anyway. You have to have representation. If you want to be on television, you have to have representation, because almost none of these companies will allow you to walk into the front door. They want someone who has management.
Got it. Makes sense.
So then they assigned me a manager, but not someone who was on my side. This was a QVC person.
Yes.
And that was evident over the years. And we went along for 8 years. We were one of the most successful products that QVC had. In every show that we did, there were always 8, 10, a dozen other products. They go from product to product. We were always number one.
Really?
And after 8 years of that, we did over $10 million in sales.
Wow.
And sold just short of 2 million mirrors. That's 2 million pair of mirrors.
Wow. So 4 million of these were sold.
In pairs.
In pairs. Wow. That's interesting, man. So let me see.
Now, I didn't get the $10 million, as some of you are thinking that.
Yeah.
That's where the 5 times markup came in.
Right.
Still made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean. So would you say that QVC is where you sold the most?
Oh, by far.
Yeah. And now you still sell these.
QVC television put me on the map.
Right.
After that 8-year run, my website and my sales are daily. I mean, I built a website just before going on television, and if we sold a pair of mirrors every 2 weeks, it was thrilling.
Yeah.
And after QVC, it's orders every single day. Sometimes 1 or 2, sometimes a dozen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll hear from a highway patrol or a police department or a state patrol. Send us 100 of those, will you?
Nice.
We still get thrilled over that.
That's awesome. So you've sold millions, over $10 million worth of these mirrors.
That was just on television.
That's just on television.
That's just television.
And then, I mean, you've been at this. How many years did you come out with this product? How many years ago?
1996. So it's over 20 years. And I came up with it many years before that. That's when they went on the market.
Right.
So it took me 10 years to actually get them to market.
10 years. See, that's where a lot of people are going to stop. Because if we look at an entrepreneur just in general, right, whether it's an inventor or whatever, for me personally, I started my entrepreneur, I mean, I was selling stuff door to door at 10 years old. And I was I
left that part out of my story. But go ahead.
I want to hear about it. I became an entrepreneur at about 10 when I say the story often. I sold chocolates for my elementary school. I realized we sold them for $1. They got them for 50 cents. My mom and I are driving past Helen Grace Chocolate Factory, Linwood, California. It used to be on Martin Luther King in Long Beach. And it says 50% off fundraisers. I asked my mom, what's that mean? She says, I don't know. Let's stop by. We stop by. They tell us, yeah, you buy $100 worth, you get it for 50 cents. I'm like, well, we sell these all day long for $1. All right, cool. So I started saving money. If I behaved good, my mom would give us a couple bucks a week. So I used to never get that. But now I started behaving good because I wanted it. So she finds out, why are you saving up this money? And I say, because I want to buy these chocolates. So, okay, I'll lend you the rest of the money. So we go, I get 200 chocolates for $100. I remember it was tax-free, it was $100 flat. And I started selling chocolates door to door, making 50 cents. Before you know it, I've got my neighbors, we're all like 10 years old, 9, 10, 11. Neighbors are like, man, you're rich. You're rich. I was making $4 or $5 a day, $7, $10 a day. So my neighbors, this is in the 90s, right? My neighbors are like, we're all kids. They're like, hey, you're rich, man. I said, and I did the math. I was like, wait a minute, I make 2 quarters per chocolate. What if I offer them 1 quarter per chocolate? So before you know it, I have 4 or 5 kids knocking on doors, selling chocolates. They're making a quarter, I'm making a quarter. So I became an entrepreneur at the age of 10 through Helen Grace Chocolates, right? So when I was 18, though, I started my entrepreneur road at the age of 18. And it took me about 8 or 9 years for me to actually be quote unquote successful. There was a lot of temporary defeat. There was a lot of failure along the way, but I knew because of the people I listened to, right? I had mentors, right? I wish you were one of my mentors back then. And I knew that it took time, that good things take time, that you have to first fail in order to succeed. So for you, $55,000 just for the mold, 10 years, then you ended up selling that. Now you hit that vein, right? Like you struck oil, but it took 10 years and over $55,000 to do that. That's what most people don't have. So it's amazing to hear your story because that is the DNA of an entrepreneur. That is what most people don't understand. People wish for success. People want to be successful, but they're not willing to do. Here's what a lot of people say. They see you being happy, having a nice life, nice house, nice car. Some people may think, oh, he probably got lucky. No, he didn't get lucky, right? So what would you say? What would you say to people that would think that somebody like you, somebody successful, got lucky?
The measure of success is not that you have made it. It's how many times have you scraped yourself up off the floor to start over.
That's right.
And in my case, I have had so many businesses before I had success. In fact, when I applied for my patents on this, I had many other businesses that were making a little bit of money. And it took so long to get patents. I still had to make a living, and I had my own businesses going. But I also started door to door selling Christmas cards.
Oh, Christmas cards. Interesting.
And I thought that was a fabulous business. But then I had a real epiphany, you might say.
Okay.
To my school came a milk fund charity. And along with the charity, they were selling football circus tickets. So everybody in the school, the students, were given tickets to go sell. Mm-hmm. And there was a prize. The number one prize for the student selling the most football circus tickets was a chrome-plated go-kart. And I looked at that and I said, there's my Corvette. That was long before Corvette.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought I had to have that. And I went out every day after school, door to door to door, selling football circus tickets. And I didn't take no for an answer. And I literally put my foot in the door of people, which I do not recommend.
Right.
And some people get so tired of listening to me, they would just hand me, tickets were 50 cents, hand me $1, say, here, give those 2 tickets to someone who needs it.
Huh.
Well, I wish I had done that. But I didn't, and that cost me dearly. So this was in the 7th grade. I forgot the year. And I went on and on and on, door to door to door, and I went to the next cities out of Pasadena, where there weren't any other kids selling football circus tickets. And rather than giving those tickets away, I kept the money and sold the tickets again.
Right, right.
And that was my downfall, because all the way up until the last day, everyone said, oh, Snegg, you got it. You're the winner. And when they announced the winner, the guy's name was Alan Schultzmeyer.
You still
I
remember?
hope you're, Alan Schultzmeyer. If you see this, kudos to you. He did not go out selling door to door. His father was a major union representative, and he told all of his people, hey, buy a couple of these tickets. 50 cents, nobody complained.
Yeah.
And he sold hundreds of tickets.
Oh, wow.
So my ticket tally was, I think, 750 tickets.
Wow.
Alan Schultzmeyer sold 751 tickets.
Well, you were 750?
I was 750.
So you
I
beat me
was
by
one ticket
Oh, man.
short.
That hurts.
Well, Harry, why didn't you buy a ticket? Well, if I'd known, I would have bought 100 tickets.
Wow.
So, but they managed to give me a booby prize, second place prize, which you've heard the old story. Second place is last place.
Yeah.
So my consolation prize was a brand new shiny transistor radio. Now, then it was a big deal. You couldn't even buy a transistor radio. They just come out. And I got that, and Alan drove away in his chrome-plated go-kart.
Oh, that's got to hurt. See, if you lose by 1 versus losing by 50, 100, at least you know, okay, I wasn't even close. But by 1, something similar happened to me last year. It was a contest for a Tesla, a brand new Tesla.
Serious contest.
Yeah. And without getting into the story, because people in the company see my podcast, but let's just say that the term, you've heard the term, may the best man win, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The term is may the best man win, not may the best men win. So you got 2 people putting deals together, and I'm putting deals by myself, and they beat me by a very, very small margin, and it was for a brand new Tesla. I still got a trip to Hawaii. Wasn't too shabby, made a ton of money. What most people make in a year, I made more than that in a month, right? So I'm not complaining, but it hurts, right? So, and then as a kid, it hurt. I think as a kid, it probably hurt you more than it hurt me as an adult.
I worked my little fanny off.
So going back to your entrepreneur venture, you used to have some, were those the things that you used to sell that Jack in the Box, I think, was one of the.
Oh, I should have brought you one. Yeah, I spent quite a few years. I had an advertising agency, and we specialized in discount coupons for major employers, employees, the employees of major employers like Hughes, Rockwell, TRW. And we made arrangements with them to distribute our discount card. You've probably all seen them. They look like the size of a credit card, and they have a bunch of little discounts. And I really perfected that and got discounts that were just much, much higher than anyone else, other discount cards. The people who would offer discounts would offer 10%, and I wouldn't accept a 10% discount. I would tell them point blank, look, I'd like to have your money, but you're not going to have any success with a 10% discount.
Right.
If you're not 15 or 20%, no one's going to pay attention to you at all.
Yeah.
Now, a story within that, a big part of the success of that card was Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box used to give a buy one, get one free sandwich to all the major employers in Southern California. And that was on my discount card. It was called the Yes Card, the Yearly Employee Super Saver.
Huh.
So one year, I called up the VP of Jack in the Box, and he says, "Yeah, we're gonna go on again. But this time we want all of your cards, areas, and major employers."
Wow.
I'm going, in my head, I'm counting up the money. It's thousands of dollars, and he continues to say, "However, we're not going to pay you anything for all of those cards." And I went, "Well, what?"
Right.
And he says, "We're going to allow you to distribute a buy one, get one free." Now, that's the biggest discount we've ever offered anyone, and you've got it. You've got exclusive on it.
Yeah.
So my discount card had the best discount you could get
Yes.
on discount cards for major employers, and I was very successful with that for many years.
So hold on. They went from paying you to be on there to saying, we're going to go on
We're
there
gonna allow you
to
to
the
go on
max,
there,
but we're going to allow you for free. So in the beginning, it was like, whoa, this sucks. But would you say it turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
It tripled my business overnight.
So tell me about that.
Well, the biggest discount on there, the most famous one, was the buy one, get one free from Jack in the Box. And I used to point that out to other advertisers and say, look what Jack in the Box is doing. And how'd you get them to do that? And we gave it to them for free. I didn't tell them that.
Right.
It made it real easy for other businesses to offer bigger discounts.
Got it.
That's a very substantial discount.
Yes.
Buy one, get one free. Now it seems pretty commonplace. I see it on TV.
Right.
Buy one, get one 50% off. But it was very effective. And it just, I went from 2 salesmen to 15 salesmen.
Oh, wow.
And we expanded the number of cards we printed because we would have a sponsor like TRW, something like that, which would be 10,000 cards. But then we would print 50,000 cards and give those for free to all the other major employers in the area.
Wow.
So they all got a TRW discount card.
Nice.
And that enabled our sales to just shoot way up because we had a huge distribution.
So you've done a lot of things. You mentioned something before we started recording that you've never really had a traditional job.
Yeah. I got a letter from the IRS many years ago saying that I was entitled to a whopping $250 a month Social Security benefits. And I went, how could anybody live on $250 a month? Well, that's because the only job I had was when I was a teenager, working in the family business.
Interesting.
And which was the only time I actually paid much of withholding and all of that, because when you have your own business, for a long time, you really weren't, you were supposed to pay it, but they didn't take it out of your check because you're the one writing the check.
Right.
But yeah, that cost me.
Yep. So tell me about the story about when you got this product, you're going to get people who want to knock you off. Has anybody tried to knock you off?
When I had no problems with people knocking me off the whole 10 years I was doing car shows and county fairs. When I went on QVC and had such a wide audience of people buying it, and people would call in and say, that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I couldn't drive without that. And wouldn't you know, I got knocked off.
Yeah.
And the successful knockoff was one that wasn't even really, it looked like mine, but it really wasn't close in function. I guess I'll tell you the negative story about QVC.
Sure.
So they were constantly bugging me to lower my price. I was selling this for $29.95, still $29.95. And my competitors were selling him for $10 and making more money than I was because they were all making him in China.
Right.
So still to this day, I have the only blind spot mirror made in the USA. The only blind spot mirror that has customer service every day, and also the most expensive blind spot mirror. So, where was I?
So, well, I'll help you here because I remember this part of the story. You mentioned that it was on QVC. QVC was supposed to sell yours, and then they stopped and they started selling the other one.
Christmas of 2014, they ordered for me 40,000 mirrors.
Wow.
That was my biggest order yet from them.
Now, let me stop you there. When they order 40,000, are they giving you any money up front?
No.
Or you have to front that money.
Oh, yes. I front that
And what
money.
happens? Are they supposed to sell the whole thing, or what if they don't sell it all?
Anything they don't sell, they ship back to you.
Got it.
But in my case, the only thing got shipped back to me was returns,
Got it.
whether there was something wrong with them or not.
Sure.
Because my product never had difficulty selling because of our presentation. We had a live presentation. You can see it at MaxiViewMirrors.com. There's a 1-minute video there. And it shows you live action of a demonstration of my mirrors. And I perfected that live action demonstration while I was on the road for 10 years. And I had a vehicle in my booth.
Yes.
So when we did that on the air, people could really see the function of the product, because when I first went on QVC, I tried to explain to them how to sell the product because I knew what made it successful. And they go, oh, no, well, we know what we're doing. So they would take the product and they would say, here it is right here. And you can get it for $21, and don't go to the website for $21.95. You're going to buy it cheaper here at QVC. Put it back down. That was the end of it. Well,
Whoa.
the first thing I did is go, you got to show people it's adjustable.
Right.
You know? And so then I got some other professionals who were contractors for QVC, and they would do professional demonstrations. And I explained to them what you have to do. You have to have a car on the set. And they go, we can't do that. I said, well, you want to be successful, you got to have a car on the set. You got to have a camera in the car, focused on the mirror, showing people, now you see it, now you don't.
Right.
And that was the smashing success. I could sit in the green room and watch the monitor, and it was just spinning.
Was that
Spinning
sales?
numbers of success. Every time it spun, it was selling a mirror, and it just spinning faster and faster. Nobody could count as fast as that thing was selling.
Really? Wow.
And if you go into the offices, as far as the eye can see are little desks, little cubicles with people taking orders.
Really?
So, and they only have one product at a time.
Huh.
Now, you can call up anytime and order whatever they have online.
Sure.
But the live action product that was on live at the time, that's what most of those people are taking orders on.
Interesting. So is that the time that they started selling the competitors?
No, so 2014, they ordered the 40,000 mirrors. We shipped them the mirrors. And the day they were supposed to go on the air, myself and friends were sitting around the couch. Boy, stuff's coming up. And lo and behold, this Chinese knockoff comes up on the air.
Oh.
Now, they didn't call it MaxiView. They called it something else. And it was a third less money. I'm going, what in the world? And they sold the bejeebies out of that thing.
Yeah.
And they had it on the air 9 days in a row, and they never put mine on twice a week, never day after day after day. And so I got a hold of an attorney. I said, look, you write them a letter. And the letter said, hey, you've accepted Mr. Snegg's order here for MaxiView mirrors, and you're obligated to put it on the air.
Yeah.
So they put it on the air, and the whole 40,000 sold in 9 minutes.
Wow.
At a third more money.
Wow.
So, and then after that, they wanted to sell both of our mirrors.
Okay.
And I said, no, that's not happening. Because for a year, I got complaints and calls from QVC customers saying, hey, can you send me those other kind, the original MaxiView?
Yeah.
I'll send you back this Chinese knockoff.
Wow. They were calling you.
Yeah, well, call me. My phone number's on the back of every mirror. I don't know if you noticed it.
Oh, nice.
My phone number's right there.
Got it. Wow. No, that's interesting. And these are the challenges that come up in business, right? So when you told me that story, I was like, wow. So they ended up selling everything, 9 minutes, 40,000 mirrors.
9.
Man, was that the last time that you advertised with them?
Yes. I talked to them over the years, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it anymore because you just misrepresented, and I feel that you were very unfair with me. You treated me badly, and I'm still to this day getting returns from other people.
Wow.
From another mirror that I never even collected any money on.
Interesting.
Some people have just sent it to me with a note. Give us the good ones.
That's funny. Harry, let me ask you this. General advice for an entrepreneur that wants to be successful. What is some general advice, whether it be an inventor or just any entrepreneur of any kind? What is some general advice that you would give them?
I'm sure you've all heard the story that 95% of people who go to work every day hate it.
Yep.
Well, you have to love it. I may have mentioned this earlier, but no matter what kind of work you do, you have to do it all day long, every day with a smile and enjoy it. And your life will be very fulfilling. If you're not enjoying it, it almost doesn't matter how much you make, because eventually, if you're enjoying the work, you will be good at it and you will make the money that you're looking for.
Right.
So never settle for a job that you only go because you need the money. And I know that's easy for me to say, but it's a practice that I've lived by.
Well, it's interesting when you say that most people have a job that they don't enjoy. There was a study that came out that said that the average heart attack happens on Monday morning between 8 and 10 a.m.
Well, I know for a fact that your life will be shorter if you go to work every day hating it.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Complete sense. Harry, you've lived and you've had a lot of experience in life, right? What is some general life advice that you would give? I don't ask this question very often on the podcast, but it's very important, right? Just some general life lessons that you would give.
Part of the reason I really enjoyed MaxiView mirrors is because it was not just a product that I was making a lot of money on. It was a product that saved other people's lives. And a lot of people focused on that. And it made me very proud to have my mirrors not just be successful, but to save lives.
Right.
So if you can throw that into the mix, well, then you've really got something going.
That's right. That's what it's true. It's true. Your product is definitely a product that is it serves a very good purpose. And I know, I mean, you've had 4 Corvettes in your life. I've had 3. And that's one of the things that you and I have in common, right? We love Corvettes, and I think I'm going to get when the electric version comes out. That's probably what I'm going to get. Being in the solar business and whatnot, and hopefully the demand isn't as crazy then as it is now, right? But that's some great life advice and stuff. Anything else? How's another way that people can reach you?
My phone number is on the back of every mirror, and I'll give you the toll-free number, which I never give out, but I'll give it to you. And it is 888-4MaxiView.
That's easy enough.
That's my toll mirror. That was one of my businesses, by the way, was trick phone numbers.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I did that for a while until I ran out of money.
Nice. And what is the website for MaxiView?
That is MaxiView Mirrors, and I really highly recommend that you see the 1-minute video. there are a number of things like my website that have this QR code, and you can see the 1-minute video, which is a live demonstration of the mirrors. And I also would like to say that my phone number is on there, and I invite you all to call if you're an entrepreneur who has a product that you need help with. I've spent my whole time with QVC, or excuse me, with MaxiView mirrors, answering questions and helping other inventors. And it's part of the reason of how I met JC. We both have a mutual friend who is somewhat of an inventor.
That's right.
And I counseled him and told him that his invention was going to flop.
Right. What was it again? What was the invention that he?
He had another version of a discount card. So he picked mine up somewhere and said, "Let's call this guy." And he called me up and he said, "Well, what do you charge for a consultation?" I said, "I charge $225 an hour." And where did that number come from? Well, because many years earlier, my one job that was more of a job was a contract. I had a contract for a year with a fairgrounds facility in Arizona, and they used to rent me out to other fairgrounds facilities that were promoting swap meets and flea markets. So I became a known expert of swap meets and flea markets, and they would rent me to these organizations for $225 an hour, and they'd get all that money. Well, Stephen is the guy we're talking about here. I only charged him for 1 hour. I don't even know if he ever paid me. And I gave him a whole lifetime's worth of free advice.
Wow. Nice. And you told him, "Hey, this is not going to work."
I said, "I've done that." "No, don't do that. I've done that."
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. There's things that you do, I gave him all the secrets.
Yeah.
And I think they came to a conclusion that was just too hard. They wanted an easier path.
Yeah. Well, Harry, I've had a great time having this conversation with you. Got to know a little bit more about you. Definitely dropped some valuable information. So I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you call.
Yep.
If you've got a question, I'm happy to answer it. Nothing I enjoy more than talking to inventors and entrepreneurs.
There you have it. This gentleman knows what he's doing. Contact him, visit his website. His phone number's on there. With that being said, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember, the price of this episode, there's a price. You gotta like this video, comment it, and subscribe. So with that being said, see you guys at the top or from the top. Take care.